Here's a quick walk around of the cars that have been showcased at the Ford stall at the Geneva Motor Show 2018. As usual, the highlight of any show at Ford is the Mustang, and Ford had, of course, the 2018 Mustang on display. It also had an old 1968 Mustang which was in the movie Bullitt. This Mustang was famous for one of the famous car chase scenes in the movie. And of course, the new 2018 Ford Mustang Cabriolet edition was also at the store. Now coming to some of the other models that Ford had on display, this here is the S-Max, which is an MUV. It would be ideal for the Indian market, but at the moment Ford has no plans to bring this one here. The S-Max would probably compete with the Toyota Innova if it ever came to India. And here's a car that was present in the Indian market earlier, the Ford Mondeo, but it went out of the market because of lack of demand. Ford may bring this car back to India sometime in the future. What you're seeing here is the estate version of the Ford Mondeo. But there's also the sedan version on display, and if India was to ever get the Mondeo again, this would be the car that would come to India from Ford. Here's another car that we had in India from Ford, which is the Ford Fiesta, but unfortunately this too has gone out of the market. This is the hatchback version of the Ford Fiesta, which sells in the European and UK market. But in India, we'd likely get the sedan if it ever came back. This vehicle needs no introduction. This is the Ford EcoSport, but of course, without the spare wheel at the rear, which is why it looks a little different. So this is the version of the EcoSport that sells in the South American and European markets. The front of the EcoSport looks pretty much like the one we get in India as well. A couple of more SUVs from Ford on display. This here is the Ford Kuga. The Kuga is a larger SUV compared to the EcoSport and is probably in the size of the Hyundai Creta, just to give you some perspective. Would the Kuga make sense for the Indian market? Well, it just might, but then again, that's a decision that Ford needs to make. And if Ford India is looking at something to plonk in between the Endeavour and the EcoSport, this SUV too, the Ford Edge, would do nicely. Unfortunately, I don't think Ford has any plans on bringing this one to the Indian market. The Edge sells in the European as well as the American markets as a pretty compact SUV, but in India it would probably be a full-size SUV. So while Ford did not have the Endeavour on display at Geneva, it did have this, which is the Ranger pickup truck, and which shares its platform with the Ford Endeavour. This comes with the same 3.2 litre diesel engine putting out 200 horsepower and 6-speed automatic transmission with 4-wheel drive. So that wraps up Ford's display at the Geneva Motor Show. And this here is a tribute to Bullitt with the 2018 Mustang.